I went back and forth as to how I was going to handle this, whether I was just going to do another video about it. 'Cause I did my like parody video about how the whole thing is like a conspiracy theory. Tucker definitely was not fired for political purposes. Um, it had nothing to do with the fact that Joe Biden announced his candidacy the next day. Sorry, I just ate dinner. It had nothing to do with the fact that he had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on. Like none of these things were relevant, guys. It was just that that Tucker Carlson he was not performing up to snuff, and not only was he not performing up to snuff, but he ran this evil, misogynistic, horrendous work environment that drove this woman to get stomach ulcers, to near suicide. Now, there is a plot twist to this, and this is what actually made me decide to do this. I can post an article link to this, but I don't. Let's see here. There's not really an easy way to bring this up on screen, so I'm just going to read this out loud. Okay. Abby Grossberg was far from a household name. Grossberg. Let's see here. After Grossberg's lawyer, Kimberly Catella, told The Spectator, a conservative outlet, that her client had never met Tucker Carlson in person because he taped the show from his personal studios. So that's something like major to just keep in mind as we're going through this. She never was in the same room as him. She never met him in person. All of this stuff about the work environment that she claims, if you believe her, which I don't, is stuff that Tucker Carlson was not around for. How he is 100% responsible for what like people do in a studio that he's not even at, I don't know, but it's his fault somehow. Let me just read the rest of this. This was hardly the gotcha conservatives claimed it to be. The pandemic ushered in a new era in television making where plenty of news shows were produced remotely, and hostile work interactions via phone or email were certainly possible. Okay, she apparently spoke to him, she just was never in the same room as him. Multiple reports this week alleged that vulgar and offensive comments Carlson made via text messages were among the redactions Fox lawyers fought to keep out of. This guy misspelled this. To keep if. Okay, maybe he didn't spell it right. The Dominion lawsuit had gone to travel, but never fret. Let's see here. During an interview with Nicole Wallace, Grossberg said she joined Carlson's teams last year with the hopes that his behind-the-scenes antics were more appropriate than his on-air musings. Like, okay, so I hated him and I hated everything he stood for, but I joined his program because I thought that he might be completely different in person than like it doesn't like can someone explain that to me? I'm gonna post that in the chat, and I don't know if anyone can like you can post in the comments below. Like oops, I can't post it because YouTube has a stupid character limit. Okay. Okay. Wait, he was the same person on air as he was off air? Wow. In other words, he was genuine. It wasn't an act. In the minds of some, that's out of bounds. What a turn of events. One wonders how Grossberg feels now that she's at the center of bogus right-wing claims rather than enabling their appeal. And if you look at the article from the interview, they asked... this was from... What was it called again? You know what? I could just post the links to this in the chat. And then if anyone wants to call me on this and look it up. Where is the thing? So she apparently was like recording calls, like, well, I was gonna say like a woman on Discord, but so she was asked approximately how many of her 90 audio recordings from her time with Tucker Carlson Tonight featured Tucker Carlson. They said they are reviewing and analyzing the recordings, which amount to approximately 34 hours of evidence. So this in no way indicates that she was planning this in advance. Because if you're like a happy, satisfied employee, you don't like record conversations for like months. And like, what? It's just, there's so much to this. So I want people to guess. I know there's not many people here at the moment, but how much do you think that she got paid a year to do this job? To do this horrible job that she like was, that was just like the worstest thing ever. That was like, it was like hell. She was so underpaid. She was so looked down upon. She was working for peanuts, guys. She was working for peanuts. Okay, she made $140,000 a year, but that's significantly less than a typical salary for senior producers on primetime TV. And it's a violation of equal protection clause. So before we get into this, there's just one or other things I wanted to share, which are fucking amazing. That like, I'm filing, until I see like photo evidence of this, I am filing literally all of this under shit that never happened. Okay, let's see here. How do I put this up? Let's see. It's fucking amazing. But like, and she's gonna admit in this that she perjured herself. She's like, the Fox lawyers made me perjure myself in a lawsuit. And I'm just like, so your like cope is that you're admitting that you perjure, you're capable of perjuring yourself. Okay. So I posted this earlier. Staff members of Tucker Carlson Tonight had frequently engaged in group discussions led by Mr. McCaskill, in which misogynistic views of women as objects to be judged solely based on their appearance were broadcast. That's like, that's what they said. Apparently, according to her, they literally said, women are just sex objects. They have no other value whatsoever. Women are just, they're just completely sex objects. That is what these conservative Christian men said. I bet you any amount of money they just said X person is hot, she has nice boobs, is probably what this was. Or something like that. But it's tragic. It's tragic. Making $140,000 a year, like that's so hard. It's so rough. Okay, so let's get into this. So I am using Kurzweil for this, which I have left over from when I was in university, because I'm not reading like a 100-page deposition. So we're just going to start going through this, and if it gets too boring, we're going to skip. So let me know if this is like too loud or too quiet, or going too fast or too slow. Okay, and let's start.
Plaintiff, Abby Grossberg, by and through her attorneys, Filipatos PLLC, hereby files this complaint against defendants Fox Corporation, Fox News Network, LLC, collectively Fox News or entity defendants, as well as defendants Jerry Andrews, Tucker Carlson, David Clark, Thomas Fox, Ralph Giordano.
Okay, this is fucking boring. Let's go on.
This case is as troubling as it is familiar. It is yet another in the long line of cases chronicling the misogynistic environment that permeates Fox News and fosters a toxic workplace where truth remains a fugitive while female workers are verbally violated on almost a daily basis by a poisonous and entrenched patriarchy.
Okay, let me know if that's like the voice of Texas where you can. It's just like every single. Um, okay, I have to show a picture of her lawyer. Her lawyer is fucking amazing. He looks like we'll see.
Filipatos.
Oops. I have to show you a picture of this guy. It's fucking amazing. This story just gets better and better. Oh, life is kind of cool sometimes. Okay. That is her lawyer. That is her lawyer. What is his name? Jerry Filipatos. So I guess maybe he's Greek. He doesn't. That's her lawyer. We have also this like amazing picture here. Oh, this is gonna be a fun video. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Google put in that shitty thing where like you have to screenshot stuff now. I don't. This dude looks really trustworthy. This is the guy. Like he makes Saul Goodman look like, I don't know, Mr. Rogers. This other picture. That's a bad picture, but you get the idea. He looks like the villain from like a Phoenix Wright game. Oh, wait, this is from... Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. There's just so much lore to this whole thing. There's so much lore. There's this thing from his website I'm going to have to put up. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Let me just screen cap this. Okay, I'm gonna see. Does it say his background? Our team. Okay. I'm just trying to see if it says if he's Jewish or not. Okay, here's another. This is from his website. That makes him, he definitely looks like a very honest and legitimate lawyer. We also have this. We'll get to the deposition, guys. There's just so much lore here, like that needs to be covered. We got this also from his website. The Me Too, battling sexism and discrimination. The way that it almost looks like Me Jew. I'm sure that is a complete. Oh, this is fucking amazing. Okay, let's keep going.
Filipatos.
Oh, oops.
2. Plaintiff Abby Grossberg, a dedicated and hard-working former senior booking producer on the Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo, SMFMB show and currently the head of booking on the Tucker Carlson Tonight, TCT program, endured an extremely, Case 123, hostile work environment under the auspices of senior executives, including the individual defendants. Ms. Grossberg was isolated, overworked, undervalued, denied opportunities for promotion, and generally treated significantly worse than her male counterparts, even when those men were less qualified than her.
Someone has a sense of entitlement. under denied what opportunities for promotion? She was like a producer. She was the head of booking. I don't know.
Ultimately, in August 2022, Ms. Grossberg could no longer tolerate the toxic atmosphere victimizing women on SMFMV and sought a fresh start by accepting a position with Tucker Carlson, the veritable face of Fox News. To her dismay, Ms. Grossberg went from the proverbial frying pan into the fire. As head of booking on TCT, Ms. Grossberg continued to endure a work in...
Let me know if the audio is okay. Like if because once again, I'm not reading this. It's too long, and I'm not good at reading things out loud. So let me know if it's going too fast or too slow. Yeah.
Work environment that subjugated women based on vile sexist stereotypes, typecasted religious minorities and belittled their traditions, and demonstrated little to no regard for those suffering from mental illness. TCT, and its eponymous host, are no strangers to controversy deemed by some as the most racist show in the history of cable news. 1MR.
And notice that she's not committing perjury here. She's not that this isn't slander to say Tucker Carlson is the most racist person in the history of cable news. This was like before cable news during the 1950s wasn't racist. Okay.
MR. Carlson's derogatory comments towards women, and his disdain for those who dare to object to such misogyny, is well known on the set of TCT. 4. Consistent with Fox News' long history of tolerating gender harassment and targeting women who report it, Fox News retaliated against Ms. Grossberg after she complained about the unlawful harassment, based on her gender and Jewish religion, to which she was subjected by Alexander McCaskill and Justin Wells, both producers on TCT. Mere hours after Ms. Grossberg had the courage to speak up to a superior named Thomas Fox, senior editor.
Okay, so I want to just poll the chat. I know there's not that many people here. Who thinks that Fox News is an anti-Semitic news network? Like, let's just be real for a minute. It's like the collection of the most philo-Semitic people they could find in America. Like, aren't like a significant number of their hosts Jewish? But no, it was anti-Semitic.
Producer, she was called into a meeting with Human Resources and presented with a bogus written warning by Monica McGill, Senior Vice President of Human Resources, HR. Then, even after expressing her concerns to Ms. McGill directly, Ms. Grossberg was disregarded and ordered to return to work and face the same environment about which she had just complained, which she had made clear was causing her severe stress and anxiety. Ultimately, feeling ignored and unprotected by Fox News, and suffering from severe anxiety due to the unlawful treatment she received from her male supervisors and colleagues, Ms. Grossberg sought protected FM.
If you switch it from top chat to live chat, it will adjust it. It'll display a lot of the stuff that's not that it's covering.
Protected FMLA leave supported by her therapist. 5. Moreover, as detailed below, Ms. Grossberg received damaging and woefully inferior and inadequate legal representation, if you can even call it that, as compared to her male counterparts at Fox News.
Who gets legal, like, what? Who gets, legal representation from their workplace? This is like the definition of first world problems. I wouldn't get legal representation if I got in legal trouble.
News. Quite simply, the Fox News attorneys coerced, intimidated, and misinformed Ms. Grossberg as they prepared her in connection with deposition testimony she gave in the pending defamation case brought by the company known as Dominion, Title U.S. Dominion, Incorporated. v. Fox News Network, LLC, and... Okay,
so we're just going to skip ahead, because she's talking about how the Fox News lawyers made her say stuff. So we're just going to go to where she admits to perjuring herself. Sorry, this thing's like 100 pages long. We're not going to read the entire thing. We're just going to try to find... Okay, here we go. All right. Tellingly, not one of the Fox News attorneys advised Ms. Grossberg that by giving such misleading and evasive answers, she not only opened herself up to civil and criminal liability for perjury, but placed all the responsibility for the alleged defamation against Dominion on her shoulders, and by implication, those of her trusted female colleague. So we're admitting here that she perjured herself. I mean, you can say that she was pressured to perjure herself, but she's like, look, I can be easily coached by a lawyer to lie under sworn testimony. Also, isn't this like a crime? Isn't it a crime to admit this? Like an illegal... I don't know. Okay, let's see here.
Then, as if Fox News could not act any more unlawfully, the network sued Ms. Grossberg in an effort to silence her from telling her story in this lawsuit minutes after she refused to agree to settle her claims alleged herein on Fox News's terms. There could hardly be a more vivid and clear example of unlawful retaliation.
Yeah, that is the most... It is like another Holocaust. Like, have any of these people ever worked at a company? Like, this is like the most mild shit I've ever heard. Compared to what often will happen. Like, I don't know. Assuming that this shit actually happened, which is an open question. Could not act any more unlawfully, as if this brief could not be written any more unprofessional.
Retaliation.
So if someone like has any experience with this, is this like professionally written? This feels like something someone from Reddit wrote.
Except Fox News did, in fact, top its illicit behavior just hours later, as it abruptly placed Ms. Grossberg on forced administrative leave, effectively ending her career at the network, in a blatant display of unlawful retaliation. 3. Case 123 CVO 2. Finally, brazenly, and unlawfully, Fox News hammered the final nail into the coffin of Ms. Grossberg's once promising career in television journalism by publicly terminating her employment for allegedly being insubordinate for publicly disclosing the woefully inadequate and likely malicious legal advice given to her by Fox News attorneys prior to and during her deposition in the Dominion Fox lawsuit. 9.
So, from looking at this under some other stuff, the Fox lawyers said, look, if you go out and you tell this stuff, like, in public, then we're going to sue you, and it's illegal. And she just said, I don't want to listen to you. I'm just going to go and say this shit in public, even though I'm told not to. Even though I've been told not to, I'm just going to go and do it either. Okay. We'll find a picture of her again. This is the woman. And once again, this is her lawyer. I mean, is there a more trustworthy looking duo than these two? Like, look at him. He looks like a Phoenix Wright character. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see here. The obtained vindication of her rights under the equal pay, whatever. Let's see here. Gender. Okay.
13. Simultaneously with the filing of this action, plaintiff has filed will file a charge of discrimination with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, in connection with her claims of gender, sex, religion, and disability discrimination as alleged herein pursuant to Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as codified, 42 U.S.C. cubic millimeter 2000 E to 2000 E17, Title VII in the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, ADA, 42 USC. Cubic millimeter 12,101, at Sec. 14. Once the EEOC has concluded its investigation and or issues plaintiff a notice of right to sue, plaintiff will seek leave to amend this complaint to add causes of action under Title VII in the ADA against Fox News. 15. Further, simultaneously with the filing of this complaint, plaintiff will serve a copy of this amended complaint on the New York City Law Department, New York State Attorney General, and the New York City Human Rights Commission to fulfill any and all administrative prerequisites with respect to her NYSHRL and NYCHRL claims alleged herein. The parties. 16. Plaintiff Abby Grossberg is an adult resident.
I don't know about that. Okay, let's skip ahead a bit. Let's see. Okay. I'm just gonna skip ahead a bit. Rain, did you want to watch this with me? Okay, sure, you can watch it. Here, you want to sit in my lap? Okay, I guess she doesn't. You're a detractor, Rain. Let's see here. So this is them going through, like, all the previous cases where people have accused Fox News. I'm not a Fox News, like, fan or anything. And I'm sure Bill O'Reilly did all the sleazy shit that, he was accused of. But it's like... Wait a minute, what is this? Okay. Let's try to find this. Okay, so we just have like homophobic, racist, misogynistic behavior. Wait, sorry, let me just go back and see what this is. Okay. Sorry. Jurisdiction and venue, administrative requirements, the parties. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out like why all this shit is being listed. Statement of facts. Okay, here we go. This is the statement of facts, allegedly. Also, why did they fire Tucker and they didn't fire like any of the other people? Like, who were pushing this, who didn't have nearly as big a audience.
Despite having to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements related to claims of sex discrimination, Fox News has persistently, to this day, been plagued with vivid examples of blatant sexual harassment and gender discrimination, two terms that have become deeply stitched into the fabric of Fox News's workplace culture that permeates the airwaves, with little to no remediation.
Okay, let's see. So he's going to talk... I don't really know what Bill O'Reilly has to do with these, especially since they fired Tucker. So, like, isn't that kind of counter to this entire thing? That they fired Tucker? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. This is really disorganized. Okay, it's just a whole bunch of... let's see here. Okay. We just have, like, random shit thrown in here. Okay, let's see what this claims.
An audio clip of Mr. Carlson emerged in which he says, arranged marriages between adults and children are not the same thing exactly as pulling a child from a bus stop and sexually assaulting that child. The rapist in this case has made a lifelong commitment to live and take care of the person, so it is a little different. B. Sex workers are slutty and pathetic. C.
Is there a citation somewhere for this? Maybe at the end they have citations for this. Because that's if that was taken out of context, that seems like that would be slander.
C. Women are extremely primitive. They're basic. They're not that hard to understand.
Base?
D. In response to a story about girls at his 14-year-old daughter's boarding school experimenting sexually with each other, Mr. Carlson opined, if it weren't my daughter, I would love that scenario. 61. Shockingly, Fox News did not order Mr. Carlson to apologize for the offensive remarks. Rather, Mr. Carlson said on air, rather than express the usual ritual contrition, "How about this? I'm on television every weeknight live for an hour. If you want to know what I think, you can watch. Anyone who disagrees with my views is welcome to come on and explain why." 62. Dan Gallo, a Fox News producer, subsequently complained to Kevin Lord, Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer, about the recordings of Mr. Carlson defending statutory rape because he believed such vitriol created an unsafe workplace for female employees. Reportedly, Mr. Gallo was later confronted by Mr. Carlson and bullied into not pressing the matter further.
It's like none of this is like explained. Like why? Like what is the actual quote? Like did he say that there was like a night? You know what it probably was. It probably wasn't actually like a kid or something that actually would be degenerate. It was probably like a 19 and 18-year-old like had sex or something, and that was the statutory rape. It is probably what it was.
Further, indeed, no further investigation was conducted regarding Mr. Carlson's remarkably
Okay, let's see here. All right.
days after a 21-year-old white man killed 22 people at an El Paso, Texas Walmart to protest what he called the Hispanic invasion of Texas, Mr. Carlson declared on the air that white supremacy was largely a hoax. In response, Christina Corbin, a Fox News 17, Case 120 producer, tweeted in a direct rejoinder to the primetime star, "White supremacy is real, is evidenced by fact." Several hours later, Mr. Carlson reportedly called Ms. Corbin from a blocked number and told her in front of her co-workers to "shut your mouth."
They better have like evidence for all of this. I'm like, if any of this actually happened, it's like
December 2019, Brittany McHenry filed.
Also, I thought this was supposed to make us like not like Tucker Carlson. It just kind of makes him look like a Chad, to be honest. Let's see here.
March 2021, the Pentagon's press secretary, John F. Kirby, and several senior members of the U.S. military publicly condemned Mr. Carlson for a sexist segment on TCT in which he mocked women serving in the armed forces and ridiculed changes by the military to be more inclusive to women. Specifically, Mr. Carlson has stated, "So we've got new hairstyles and maternity flight suits, pregnant women are going to fight our wars." It's a mockery of the U.S. military.
Okay, but like, what aspect of that is untrue? Maternity, like, I don't like what like once again, like what aspect of that is? It's like when CBC got angry that they were called state-funded media. It's like, how is that untrue? It isn't. Okay, let's see here. Also, part of the reason why companies will settle out of court is just because it's so like it's so much time and money to have to deal with this. It's easier to just pay people.
The foregoing clearly establishes a widespread pattern and practice at Fox News of supporting its male on-air talent and executives in the face of sexist, misogynistic, discriminatory, or retaliatory conduct and comments. Thus, it is no wonder, against this backdrop, that Ms.
Grossberg's illustrious career in primetime journalism.
Ms. Grossberg joined Fox News in 2019 with over 16 years of experience in broadcast journalism. After graduating in 2003 from Johns Hopkins University, Ms. Grossberg began her journalism career at CBS.
Okay, it's too fucking boring. Okay, let's go on. Created graphics, fact-checked editorial content. That's a bad sign. That's a really bad sign. Let's see here. This was like a job interview. Like, she's listing her accomplishments.
After only 3 months under Ms. Grossberg's leadership, SMFMB's ratings grew impressively by 40%, that is, from 1.5 million on October 7, 2019, to 2.2 million on January 5, 2020, becoming the #1 weekend show on the network. 3. Ms. Grossberg experiences a hostile work environment on the basis of sex almost immediately and observes the persistent attempts by male colleagues to marginalize Ms. Bartiromo, whom they call, among other things, crazy, menopausal, hysterical, and a diva, and Ms. Grossberg herself is denied the title of senior producer, for which she was qualified. 79.
I like how it's her was the only person like who solely raised the ratings. There was no one else. Yeah, it's a cover letter. Like what is this? 1 second. Like this reads like a cover letter. Let's just go back.
At ABC News, Ms. Grossberg worked with a...
Wait a minute. Let's go, because this actually is like shit that okay, sorry. We'll get through this, but this is like amazing. This is literally like something I think I put lines like this in a cover letter.
Ms. Grossberg joined Fox News in 2019 with over 16 years of experience in broadcast journalism.
That's literally how I start my cover letters.
Journalism. After graduating in 2003 from Johns Hopkins University, Ms. Grossberg began her journalism career at CBS News, before moving to take on roles with increasing responsibility at CNN, NBC Universal, and most recently, ABC News, where she was the producer of World News Tonight with David Muir for 3 years. In this role, Ms. Grossberg pitched 20, Case 123 original story ideas, wrote scripts, and oversaw the production and editing of news packages from inception to air, often on a very tight deadline. 75.
I know I've said that. I've said like overseen the creation of presentations, article writing on a tight deadline. This is all just generic LinkedIn stuff.
75. At ABC News, Ms. Grossberg worked with a wide range of anchors, correspondents, and senior staffers on day-of-air pieces about the latest breaking news. Additionally, Ms. Grossberg booked guests, created graphics, and fact-checked editorial content. She also coordinated with bureau chiefs and desk editors to launch featured pieces and mentor junior staff regarding the research, booking, and production of such stories. 76. In or about March 2019, Ms. Grossberg joined Fox News as a...
This is fucking amazing. It's literally a cover letter. It's literally, I could use this as a cover letter.
Within a month of her hire, Ms. Grossberg encountered systemic chauvinism at Fox News. For example, in or about April 2019, Matt Kalbach, a senior producer on SMFMB 21, Case 120, drunkenly scolded Ms. Grossberg during work hours for sharing too much information with Ms. Bartiromo because, according to Mr. Kalbach, Ms. Bartiromo was crazy, menopausal, and often became hysterical. 80. Mr.
I'm assuming that Mr. Kalbach is German, or if she's going after her own. Like, okay, so once again, apparently she's never worked at a company. Like, okay, so who here has heard a coworker or their boss called crazy, menopausal, or hysterical? Like, who here has heard of that? Heard somebody say that.
Mr. Kalbach further informed Ms. Grossberg that David Clark had instructed him, the less Ms. Bartiromo knows the better. 81. When Ms. Grossberg informed Ms. Bartiromo of what Mr. Kalbach had said, Ms. Bartiromo responded that she believed both men were sexist, and that she did not trust either of them. 82.
So she immediately snitched. So she was a hall monitor who immediately snitched on people.
82. Ms. Bartiromo also lamented to Ms. Grossberg that she used to be a star, but since joining Fox News, had been devalued as being past her prime by her male colleagues and superiors, who favored younger women. 83. Ms. Bartiromo stated to Ms. Grossberg that she sincerely believed that Mr. Clark was out to sabotage her, which was validated by the way Mr. Clark spoke about her, that is, calling her a diva who was difficult and demanding and who needed to be controlled. 84.
So according to this, calling your boss difficult or demanding is a slur, I guess.
84. Subsequently, later that month, Mr. Kalbach went on a leave of absence and Ms. Grossberg assumed his responsibilities. Mr. Kalbach returned to work a few months later, but his parroting of the sexist rhetoric from the senior executives continued unabated. 85. Ultimately, Mr. Kalbach resigned in October 2019.
Okay, I'm not
Ms.
talking about like just female bosses. Like, people will say that their male boss is a bitch. They'll say that he's an asshole. Like, the term diva is used for males just as much as for females. Like, Justin Trudeau is a diva. I say that all the time. It's like, I don't know. Okay, let's see here.
Days later, on November 13, 2019, Mr. Clark, in front of various staffers, including Ms. Grossberg, again proclaimed that the position vacated by Mr. Kalbach would be filled by a man. Mr. Clark asked Mark Smith, a field producer on Maria Bar...
Like, so according to this, they literally said, we're going to replace him with another man. Does anybody believe that? That, like, the dude stood in front of people and said, we're going to hire another male. Whether he was... I like how she's like, he was a field producer. He was beneath me. Or knew of anyone who might be interested, while looking right in Miss Grossberg's direction. Wow, like, she really... this feels like script writing.
Ms. Grossberg felt humiliated and demoralized to be so obviously disregarded and dismissed by Mr. Clark, as he offered the position to someone with less experience and lower ranking than her. 91. On or about November 15, 2019, Ms. Grossberg informed Ms. Bartiromo that she believed she was being passed over for the position previously held by Mr. Kalbach, a position she was presently performing in Mr. Kalbach's absence simply because of her gender. 90.
Yep, that is 100% the case. It was solely because of that. It wasn't because the other person had talents or experience more suited to it. Also, I just hate this snobbery. Like, I'm so much better than this guy. This guy's a fucking pleb. He's a peasant. Like... There's lots of reasons why someone gets promoted over other people. Is the whole process bullshit? Yeah, the whole process is bullshit. But there's actually a Mr. Grossberg in Phoenix, right? I'm pretty sure. Let me just find it. Yes. There is a... lawyer in Phoenix, right, called Marvin Grossberg. Let me see if I can. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Marvin Grossberg. Yeah, he was Tina Fey's mentor. Yeah, there we go. Mr. Grossberg. Okay, let's continue along this.
When Ms. Grossberg elaborated to Ms. the sexist tropes against Ms. Bartiromo continued when, on December 12, 2021, her first day back in the control room after working from home due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Ms. Grossberg witnessed David Hoffman, a weekend show director for Fox News, call Ms. Bartiromo a crazy bitch before telling Ms. Grossberg that she should have stayed home in her fancy house and expensive slippers just like Maria Bartiromo, 95. In other words, according to MR Hoffman, a woman's place is in the home, albeit with slippers on and not just barefoot, 96.
I love how that's a point. Like, that is a point. That is what, like, this the putting in, like, the brackets, the snarky Reddit shit. Like, it's so unprofessional. I don't know, maybe lawyers do act like this, but, like, how did he say that? It's just...
Indeed, after learning that Christopher Faulkner, a floating producer, had plagiarized guest introductions in 2020, Ms. Grossberg took over the tasks of writing the scripts, planning the segments, and timing the show. On July 24, 2020, Ms. Bartiromo confided in Ms. Grossberg her frustration that Mr. Faulkner constantly messes W scripts and trips me up live and other dumb mistakes. On August 16, 2020, Ms. Grossberg described Mr. Faulkner's nonchalant attitude about plagiarism to Ms. Bartiromo, saying, "I said to Chris Faulkner, this is unacceptable." He said, "Well, unfortunately, it happens most of the time." I said, "Well, it's plagiarism and means I have to literally write everything with zero help." Silence, 97. Ms. Bartiromo often called Mr. Faulkner a moron, who continues to destroy this show, while she told Ms. Grossberg, "You run this show, period." On February 14, 2021, Ms.
Okay. Okay, so I don't, like, get what any of this is. So basically this is just, like, her cover letter saying that, she didn't get promoted. Okay.
Fox News discriminates against Ms. Grossberg because of her sex by failing to hire support staff for, or provide resources to, her commensurate with her similarly situated male colleagues at shows starring men, as well as failing to promote her to executive producer, 99. Ultimately, as the only Fox News employee assigned to work exclusively on Sunday morning features with Maria Bartiromo, Ms. Grossberg performed the functions of her own job, as well as that of an executive producer, but was never given an appropriate title or pay increase, despite making these requests repeatedly, from 2021 to 2023, to Ms. Bartiromo and Lauren Pedersen,
Okay, so once again, this is something that just happens all the time at, like, every workplace. I know there's, like, 5 or 10 people at my work who are doing the job of someone above them, and not getting the job title or the pay. Like, that's something that constantly happens. I don't even know, like, if they're saying that, like, Fox News is incompetent and has bad HR practices, that's probably true. But it's like she's literally just complaining that she was never promoted.
Interestingly, upon information and belief, the male headline weekend shows had significantly more dedicated staff than Ms. Bartiromo's then, 1, and now, 2. Dan Bongino and The Big Show had 9 dedicated staff members that both shows shared. Media buzz with...
Oh, she's throwing her own people under the bus. I like how she knew the exact number of people. She memorized the exact number of people in each.
In September 2021, Ms. Bartiromo echoed Ms. Grossberg's concern that they have no goddamn help. Ms. Bartiromo continued via text, "It's ridiculous that we do not have a production assistant. I'm sick and tired of this. I have to be in NYC at 11:30 and I threw myself into a pretzel to make sure SMF was excellent, and time again we are working overtime trying to make TH.
Is it legal to like put all of these like private text messages like and expose them to the public? Especially when she said that Miss Bartiromo was like on her side. So like she's repaying that by like dumping all of her personal messages in this. That's kind of sleazy.
Ms. Grossberg responded that the two women need someone to handle the little things that eat up a lot of time, like sitting on the phone with a car company, or ordering a transcript. I'm clearly not above doing anything, but it's ridiculous. Ms. Bartiromo indicated that Chris Wallace and Jesse Waters had more dedicated employees on their shows, before stating, "One need L. Orrin Pedersen or S. Azan."
So also having certain positions understaffed is pretty normal. Like at one of my workplaces, we were supposed to have 3 admin staff. We only had 1, and so just nothing got done for like 6 months or something like that. And when we got admin staff again, it was just a clusterfuck of like back shit that never got
On October 13, 2021, Ms. Grossberg again reiterated to Ms. Bartiromo that she needed more support. "Realistically, I don't have the bandwidth." Editing. Executive producer of SMFMB, the job that Ms. Grossberg was already single-handedly doing without the title, and not for a production assistant, which the show desperately needed. To Ms. Grossberg's dismay, Fox News executives then began sending prospective candidates, all of whom were male, to Ms. Bartiromo's personal assistants to vet. 26. Case 1.
Whoa. Personal assistants? I thought they had no support. No one said anything about a personal assistant. Now, this is like, once again, assuming that this actually happened, a lot of companies will not hire or promote internally. They will specifically get people from outside of the company, and a lot of the time it's like a complete asshole thing to do. So like, I'm not saying, so assuming that all this happened, which is a big assumption, a lot of this is just stupid shit that lots of companies do, and it's not right, it's not good, but it's hardly because she's a woman or Jewish. It's just because corporate bureaucracy is just shit. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
In this meeting, Ms. Grossberg highlighted her
Okay, this is fucking amazing. I'm going to read this. Miss Grossberg highlighted her attributes. She got along well with Miss Bartiromo. She had already earned Miss Bartiromo's trust. They put this a page after she was posting the private text messages. She earned her trust so much that she saved all the text messages and put them in a legal disposition that made her boss look bad. That's fucking amazing. Okay, I'm gonna file this under shit that never happened, this next thing.
In response, Ms. Pedersen inexplicably attacked Ms. Grossberg without warning by stating, "Everyone hates you. Anytime your name comes up, awful, disgusting and horrible things are said about you." 108. Feeling blindsided, Ms.
Okay, I'm filing that under shit that never happened. If it was said, like, it might be said, look, people don't like you, you're like a cunt, you're always a problem, no one wants you to be their boss. But, like, also the fact that she remembered that exactly.
Ms. Grossberg asked for specifics, but Ms. Pedersen declined to provide any, suggesting that Ms. Pedersen was actually taking issue with Ms. Grossberg's decision to speak up about why she was being overlooked for the executive producer
That's pure conjecture, there's no evidence.
role. Ms. Grossberg then asked Ms. Pedersen whether the choice not to hire Ms. Grossberg for the vacant executive producer role was performance-based, and Ms. Pedersen answered in the negative, affirming that there's no denying you're talented, but it was just that Fox News needed someone who can manage Ms. Bartiromo, whatever that was supposed to mean.
Like, who writes like this? It's like a teenage girl. Like, whatever that's supposed to mean. He said, I gotta, like, do my trigonometry homework. Whatever that's supposed to mean. And this is like a professional lawyer. This is a supposed professional who's writing this shit. And we have stuff like whatever that's supposed to mean. I think what it is she's like, look, you're Miss Bartiromo's best friend. We need someone who, like, can tell her no, who can tell her what she needs to do. Like what she has to do, but no. Let's see here.
Mr. Giordano admitted that SMFMB needed an executive producer, but chauvinistically stated the position requires a lot and that Ms. Grossberg didn't understand the half of it. Mr. Giordano then stated that Ms. Bartiromo was a very difficult talent whom he did not like at all because Ms. Bartiromo was disgusting and difficult to manage. 112. During this conversation, Mr. Giordano strongly implied to Ms. Grossberg that because everyone hated Ms. Bartiromo, they would all soon hate Ms. Grossberg as well by association. 113. In a non sequitur, Mr. Giordano then brought up a lawsuit filed.
Okay, I want to pull the chat. What percentage of this actually happened? Like what percentage of this actually, like if I was writing this, I would say this is unprofessional, that this is a hostile work environment, that, like, they put her in a bad situation. I just wouldn't say chauvin. I just say unprofessional, or unpleasant. I actually don't mind the term toxic, 'cause it does describe a lot of things people have to deal with, but.
Filed against Fox News by a company called Dominion Voting Systems alleging that Fox News defamed it by parroting baseless allegations about its voting machines and software allegedly being rigged against President Trump. Mr. Giordano baselessly accused Ms. Grossberg of failing to air a full-screen disclaimer about Dominion's denial that its voting system had changed votes in the 2020 election, clearly setting it up so that Ms. Grossberg takes the fall for Fox News as improper and seemingly defamatory conduct. 114. Even though Ms. Grossberg repeatedly assured Mr. Giordano that she had, in fact, run such a disclaimer, Mr. Giordano kept insisting that the Dominion lawsuit was the fault of Ms. Grossberg's inability to manage a diva, that is, to control Ms. Bartiromo. What Mr. Giordano conveniently left out was how it was the higher-ups in the network who approved baseless statements against Dominion to air repeatedly on Fox News to perpetuate the lie that President Trump had the election fraudulently stolen from him so that the network pandered to Trump.
I like how they just say it's a lie. Like, they don't say his opinion, his belief. They just say it's a lie, which it is a lie, by the way. Dominion's voting machines were 100% accurate. Biden won the election. Let's see here. So here's the thing. And a lot of times there are toxic people at your workplace. There are people who abuse you. There are people who are pieces of shit who foist their work off on you. But, like, the thing is, if there's, like, maybe a couple people, like, maybe some of the senior management is, maybe your boss is an asshole, maybe, like, someone on your team is an asshole, and you can't deal with them. But if literally, as this suggests, every single person at Fox News was her mortal enemy, like was out to get her, that's when it starts to become a you problem. Like one company I worked at, that I eventually left because my boss was such a sociopath. But I liked the rest of the people at the company. I got along with them okay. But like sometimes you do leave because someone's toxic and they're abusive to you. But literally, this reminds me of, you know what? This reminds me of like Elliot Rodgers' manifesto, where he talks about how everyone's like his mortal enemy. To be honest.
Moreover, in the late spring of 2022, Ms. Grossberg received her 2022 performance review from Mr. Andrews, which gave her an exceeds expectations overall rating, and positively commented that Abby has always done a great job booking SMF and providing standout content for the show, and working well with Maria, 117. Notwithstanding the foregoing, Ms. Grossberg was never given the executive...
Okay, so job performance reviews are bullshit. Because I've been taking, I don't want to say too much what I do for a living, but I've taken some like professional human resources courses in the past. And they've said that performance reviews are basically this, just there for a paper trail. So if later on they get called on something, they have it in the record that they can pull out. So they've probably given her these positive things, so when she comes back at them, they can say, "Oh, well, we reviewed you well." I'm just gonna let this run. I'm gonna go get a drink.
In April 2022, Ms. Bartiromo expressed her disappointment and dismay with Fox News higher-ups' refusal to provide her with an executive producer and, more specifically, their rejection of Ms. Grossberg for the role. When Ms. Pedersen presented Ms. Bartiromo with resumes from less qualified candidates, Ms. Bartiromo advocated on Ms. Grossberg's behalf, saying she does the whole show every week alone. Ms. Bartiromo told...
Oh, thank you. Kenshin891 donated $10. Appreciate it. Get a bacon cheeseburger in memory of Punish Grossberg's career ruined by Tuckdolf Hitlerson.
Bartiromo told Ms. Pedersen, "I don't understand what you're doing. The show is soaring. The show has never been stronger. The ratings are every week, the tentpole of the network. Why would you want to mess with it?" Ms. Bartiromo later told Ms. Grossberg that she believed the network wanted...
No, I read the super chat. Here, go get a bacon cheeseburger in memory of Punished Grossberg's career ruined by Tuckdolf Hitlerson. So I got my drink. I'm drinking lime bubbly.
Wanted to break us up because of the two women's solid partnership and the fact that Ms. Grossberg was not bowing to their feet. 29.
That's the good shit.
Case 123 CVO 2368 JMF Document 14 filed March 28, 23 page 30 of 102, 119. In May 2022, Ms. Bartiromo sent a text message to Ms. Grossberg saying, "Amazing show, Abby. I am fighting for you and us, so we get the respect we deserve. I am on it. Do not worry." Ms. Grossberg responded by lamenting,
I actually never buy bacon, like at the store, just because it's always really expensive and I'm too lazy to deal with the grease. Because you can't put the grease down the drain, you have to like put it in a can and refrigerate. Like, it's just a pain. Like, for the same amount as bacon, I can get a couple steaks or some like stir-fried chicken or something like that. So,
lamenting the fact that they were so short-staffed, and reiterating her belief that the understaffing both hurt the show and caused her unnecessary anxiety and stress that was detrimental to her health. 120. During this period, Ms. Grossberg's mental health was only made worse by her realization that, unlike certain of her male counterparts, for example, Christopher Faulkner, a floating producer, she was not given any time off by Fox News. 121. For example, on March 4, 2022, Ms. Grossberg called Jerry Andrews to inform him that her father was in the ICU after brain surgery and that she was too distraught to produce that day's show from her father's bedside. Mr. Andrews callously responded that unless she was able to get someone to cover for her, Ms. Grossberg had to do the work regardless of her circumstances. Ms. Grossberg witnesses the same-sex-based inequality that waylaid her career at the highest levels of Fox News, where male anchors, like Brett Baer and Chris Wallace, were revered on pedestals as credible, while female anchors like Ms. Barty Romo and Judge Janine Pirro were castigated as crazy or hysterical. 122. Upon information and belief, Fox News male executives, and Ms. Scott, have engaged in a pattern and/or practice of disparate treatment that favored male anchors, as well as their shows and staffs, more so than female anchors and their colleagues and endeavors. 123. For example, Fox News shows with male anchors would often lift portions of interviews booked by Ms. Grossberg and conducted by Ms. Barty Romo without providing proper on-screen or verbal credit to SMFMB for breaking those key stories. 30. Case 123 CVO 2368 JMF Document 14 filed March 28, 23 page 31 of 102. 124. This demeaning disparate treatment belittled Ms. Barty Romo's and Ms. Grossberg's hard work and effectively hijacked Ms. Barty Romo's reporting and Ms. Grossberg's production efforts for the benefit of their male colleagues. 125. Ms. Grossberg was frequently restrained by her direct boss, Mr. Clark, who retained ultimate authority over what guests appeared on SMFMB. Mr. Clark frequently communicated with the higher-ups which guests the company can and cannot go on the airwaves. For example, on November 18, 2019, Mr. Clark told Ms. Grossberg to hold off on booking John Solomon, whose reporting was being investigated, until he could better understand how the situation played out. Then again on November 7, 2020, Ms. Grossberg asked if the show should keep bringing Rudy Giuliani on as a guest, to which Mr. Clark replied, yes. Mr. Clark's only concern was that Rudy Giuliani might criticize Fox News for what he alleged was the premature calling of the electoral votes of the state of Arizona.
Yeah, they called them immediately before that, like, it even, I think it's the second that it closed. It might have been before it even did close. Okay, so a kilogram of bacon at my local store is $13. A 1 pound sirloin steak is $8. So, I mean, the steak is more expensive, but bacon is mostly fat anyways.
Ms. Barty Romo, however, considered Mr. Clark a liar, and believed his priority was to sabotage her SMFMB show. As such, she cautioned Ms. Grossberg that, as two women, they cannot get bullied by him and should stick together like a steel wall. 127. For example, in late November 2020, Ms. Barty Romo secured President Trump's first interview after he lost the 2020 election. Afterwards, Mr. Clark called Ms. Grossberg.
It might be where I live, but honestly, I don't know. I find that steak is cheaper here than chicken. Once again, that might just be because I'm in technically, I guess Manitoba's Western Canada now. So there's a lot of beef here. So.
Simultaneously, other male colleagues, including Mr. Faulkner, asked Ms. Grossberg how Ms. Barty Romo was able to secure an interview with President Trump, and 31, Case 123 CVO 23.
Let's see here. Wait, we have Charlie Kirk? Why is Charlie Kirk being mentioned in this? Also, okay, you know what? Let's just jump ahead a bit because this is kind of getting boring. Let's see here. Okay, let's see.
The constant pressure on Ms. Grossberg from her male colleagues and supervisors to alienate her from Ms. Bartiromo took its toll. On February 11, 2022, Ms. Bartiromo sent a text message to Ms. Grossberg stating, "Would you like to tell me what is wrong and why you constantly disagree with me on everything lately? You keep disagreeing with me on everything and not answering me when you do not like ideas. If you do not want to work with me for some reason, you need to explain it to me. It is me who has been your biggest supporter. I think for some reason you may have forgotten that." 139. Yet, even after Ms. Grossberg made the decision to move to TCT, Ms. Bartiromo and Ms.
So once again, she gained her trust. I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of pancetta, to be honest. I don't know. I tend to like really lean meat. So I like sirloin steak quite a bit. I don't know. I just find it a very, like, I know it's not the best cut, but it's lean and it's good value for money. I don't know a ton about steak, but it's mostly meat and it's not that expensive and it's not like the worst.
To thrust exposure for its wrongdoing away from Fox Corporation and onto others to limit its legal culpability in the Dominion Fox lawsuit, Fox News, through its lawyers, coerces Ms. Grossberg to shade her deposition testimony to her and Ms. Bartiromo's detriment and in favor.
Okay, you know what? I'm just going to skip ahead because this is fucking boring. We're going to try to find some. Let's get to the Tucker stuff. Okay. Okay, let's see here.
The Fox News attorneys inexplicably refused to provide Ms. Grossberg the opportunity to review and correct, if necessary, deposition testimony bordering on malpractice, even though male employees were given this exact opportunity. 186. As Ms. Grossberg continued performing her job duties as head of booking at Tucker Carlson Tonight, she became aware that her male colleagues, including senior executive producer Justin Wells, had been provided copies of their deposition transcript.
Yeah, I know New York strip is better. Obviously, sirloin's not the best cut of steak. There's like T-bone, there's that. But I just find it fairly economical. I'm going to say something that'll probably make me lose half of my audience. I like my steak medium. I know, like, I don't know. I just find rare steak is just kind of has a weird texture to it. I think medium's a pretty good compromise.
Transcript to print, review and correct, while other males, such as Eldad Yaron, were provided large binders comprised of relevant exhibits to review at home before his deposition. Ms. Grossberg waited for months to be contacted by any of the Fox News attorneys regarding her opportunity to review her transcript, but heard nothing from them, nor was she provided the opportunity to even read.
What the hell? Like, I don't know. It's like some fucking administrative bureaucracy stuff here. Is it, like, once again, if this happened, is this, like, sexism, or is it that Fox News is incompetent in their administration? That's a good question. Let's see here. Yeah, I like medium. Medium to mid well. Well is too much, but I don't know. I just don't find rare steak. I just don't like the texture, to be honest. Provided it has like some garlic, some onions, and some pepper.
On February 16, 2023, a public...
Okay, let's see here. Okay.
After Ms. Grossberg leaves to work at Tucker Carlson Tonight, she is replaced on SMFMB by a less qualified male employee who is bestowed the coveted executive producer title. Ms. Grossberg had unlawfully been denied because of her gender. 215. On June 21, 2022, Ms.
Okay, here we
Grossberg
go.
applied for an opening to be the head of booking and a senior producer at Tucker Carlson Tonight, 216. On July 13, 2022, Ms. Grossberg interviewed with Charlie Couger, the executive producer of Tucker Carlson Originals, who insultingly asked her whether she was good at finding restaurants for the staff to eat and order food from. Mr. Couger stated that the current...
Isn't that like one of the things that producers do? Are produced like isn't part of producing getting the food? I don't know.
Booker, Kelly McNally, whose role she was interviewing for, was the office mom, and that this was part of the job, 217. On July 19, 2022, after another round of interviews, Ms. Grossberg was hired by Justin Wells, senior executive producer and vice president of Tucker Carlson Digital Products, 218. Mr. Wells informed Ms. Grossberg that her salary would be $145,000, which Ms. Grossberg replied was significantly less than the typical salary for senior producers of primetime shows, a minimum of $175,000, and that candidates with her experience were more likely to garner $200,000. Specifically, Ms. Grossberg asked Mr. Wells if the salary...
Mr. Wells admitted the offer was indeed lower than comparable male salaries in the role. Like, that's apparently he said that. Apparently he said, we're paying you less because you're a woman. Like, explicitly just came out and said it. Let's see here.
Shortly.
I don't know. A lot of diners don't ask you how a burger's cooked. I had to be honest, I love diner food. Just go to a nice greasy spoon, get some fish and chips, get a burger, get some chicken strips. I love it.
Before Ms. Grossberg officially left SMFMB on...
They all have Greek food now, like Slovakia and like stuff like that. There's one place I went that had the Greek burger, which had like what was it again? Like feta cheese and other Greek stuff.
SMFMB
Olives.
On August 27, 2022, Ms. Bartiromo wrote to Ms. Grossberg, I am trying too hard to work without you on the show, but something happened that you are not telling me. None of this is my fault. I tried hard to get them to make you an EP. I resisted everyone they put in front of me. I wish you would know I wanted you to stay. 51. Case 123.
I wish I knew how to click you.
JMF.
Okay, let's go along. Okay, so we're getting to some of the actual stuff now.
As head of booking, Ms. Grossberg led the team responsible for guest bookings and used her extensive industry contacts to communicate with, pitch, and secure high-profile guests at the center of major news stories.
Once again, just generic LinkedIn stuff.
227. Ms. Grossberg quickly learned, however, that she had merely traded in one overtly misogynistic work environment for an even crueler one this time, one where unprofessionalism reigned supreme, and the staff's distaste and disdain for women infiltrated almost every workday decision. 228. In or about August 23, 2022, while Ms. Grossberg was still transitioning from her role on Ms. Bartiromo's show, Benno Cass, a researcher on TCT, wrote to Ms. Grossberg about an interview Mr. Carlson wanted to do with Andrew Tate, the self-proclaimed misogynist.
Yes! Andrew Tate somehow comes into this. Andrew Tate. What the fuck? Andrew Tate. the Legion of Doom. Or like it sounds like the Legion of Misogyny here. Is she gonna talk about like the Taliban Twitter? Oh, it's fucking amazing. Andrew Tate had some more schizo posting today. Let me find the Andrew Tate schizo post. I'm happy that the schizo posting has continued from when he had his own, when he was in jail. I'm just gonna let this. I'm gonna find that. I'm just gonna let it run. Andrew Tate. You know what this is? This is an anime crossover. This is like the biggest.
Self-proclaimed misogynist who has described women as intrinsically lazy, stated there was no such thing as an independent, 52, Case 123 CVO 2368 JMF Document 14 filed March 28, 23 female, compared women to property, and graphically described how he would assault a woman for accusing him of cheating, 229.
They failed to mention that Andrew Tate is a black Muslim. That's just not referenced anywhere here. I guess that doesn't matter.
Ms. Grossberg cautioned Mr. Cass about the sensitivity of the interview, including the potential blowback from women's groups, and suggested TCT at least bring in a female guest to balance the segment, 230. Mr. McCaskill and Mr. Fox ignored Ms. Grossberg's suggestions and seemed annoyed that she was expressing her opinion about how the network should be cautious about airing programming that may offend women. 231. Instead, Mr. McCaskill and Mr. Fox chose to make fun of the young women whom Mr. Tate is alleged to have held captive in Romania. Mr. McCaskill, who happened to be planning a personal trip to Romania, discussed wanting to visit Mr. Tate's compound and hang out with him. 232. Later, in December 2022, Mr. Tate was charged with human trafficking and rape by Romanian authorities. 233. On September 5, 2022, Ms. Grossberg's first full...
We're gonna have to take a slight detour here. So Andrew Tate actually deleted this post, this tweet, but fortunately I was able to screen cap it beforehand. So he apparently ate something and then he had an allergic reaction, and this is what they post on the Twitter. Andrew is not allergic to anything. This has never happened before. He only had water and coffee today. Either it's an insect bite or some Matrix attack insanity in his bottled water. He's refusing waters and is focusing on tea and breathing. We'll keep you updated. Andrew's fine, says the pain is part of life. He says the doctor will inject him with who knows what and kill him. So that is the schizo post from Andrew Tate for the day. We're getting the entire Legion of Evil together here.
Full day on the TCT, she was shocked to be greeted by many large and blown up photographs of Nancy Pelosi in a plunging bathing suit revealing her cleavage. The images were plastered onto her computer and elsewhere throughout the office. Apparently, the joke was that Speaker Pelosi looked terrible in a bathing suit. 234. Ms.
Okay, did that actually happen? Okay. In the chat, did they actually do that? And if they did, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny. I'm not going to lie.
Ms. Grossberg was mortified by what she was witnessing and began to experience a sinking feeling in her stomach as it became apparent how pervasive the misogyny and drive to embarrass and objectify women was among the male staff at TCT. 53. Case 123 CVO 2368 JMF Document 14 filed March 28, 23.
I mean, you know what? You're right. Showing a picture of Nancy Pelosi in a swimsuit is a crime against humanity.
The next day, Mr. Wells called Ms. Grossberg into his office, where Mr. McCaskill was present, and asked her an uncomfortable sexual question about her former boss. Is Maria Bartiromo fucking Kevin McCarthy? Shocked, Ms. Grossberg replied no, and quickly left the room.
It's something from like an episode of The Office.
The following day, September 7, 2022, Gregory Ray, TCT investigative producer and writer, sent Ms. Grossberg a series of harassing and unprofessional late-night emails regarding a decision Ms. Grossberg had made, with Mr. McCaskill's backing, to have a potential guest meet with Mr. Carlson virtually rather than in person. 237. Mr. Ray threateningly warned Ms. Grossberg as follows: "Don't subvert Tucker going forward. Don't deal with me, Etherf."
See, Ray, let me use the term subvert. He called her a subversive. Like, if we're going to talk about anti-Semitism, that is subversive is an anti-Semitic term.
In these discussions, no woman, whether she was a Republican politician or a female staffer at Fox News, was safe from suddenly becoming the target of sexist, demeaning comments, such as being called a cunt. 54, Case 123 CVO 2368. On one occasion, on or about October 17, 2022, Michigan gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon was scheduled to appear as a guest on TCT to discuss her campaign. Before her arrival, a crass and sexist discussion in the newsroom ensued regarding whether Ms. Dixon or her opponent, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, was hotter and more fuckable. 242. This debate was moderated by Mr.
Okay, like, so this might have happened. It's probably, like, not nearly this. It's probably just, like, like, oh, who's hotter? Like, once again, as I've said, I'm not going to defend it and say, like, this is some moral thing that Christian men should be doing. But guys, when they're alone, do locker room talk. It's like I won't defend Trump's, like, grab her in the pussy thing. Like, that was in bad taste. But guys will say shit like that, and it's just men bullshitting each other. It's not that they're rapists. It's not that they're, like, sleaze. It's just dudes just like to do that. Dudes who are close friends like to give each other a hard time and make fun of each other and call each other F-slurs and something like that. Once again, though, I'm not talking about bullying generally. I'm just talking about, like, men who are close friends. Obviously, it's not okay if it's not someone you know is comfortable with that kind of thing. But, like, Serp and I will take shots at each other, call each other F-slurs and stuff like that.
In another example of overt sexism in Ms. Grossberg's workplace, in or about January 1, 2023, while Republican Congresswoman Catherine Kamek appeared on TV as she spoke on the House floor, Mr. McCaskill mocked her weight and appearance by stating she was fat like Kelly Clarkson, to which another male employee added that she only became a congresswoman because she fucked the person who had the job before her. Such disgusting remarks were never made about men appearing on TCT. 245. During yet another offensive discussion on or about December 12, 2022, at TCT, Mr. Cass and Mr. Naret declared that women with tattoos, nose piercings, or rainbow-colored hair were disgusting, should be shunned, and mused that such personal appearance choices reflected on their character. Mr. McCaskill agreed.
Fucking based. Based. That guy gets it. Ironically, Mr. McCaskill himself has tattoos and does not degradingly speak of men with... Well, it is different. Like, I don't like tattoos in general, whether it's man or female. I just don't like them in general. But, like, particularly if you're... And I kind of, this is my exception. If you were, like, a dude in the army and you get, like, your unit tattooed on you, or you get, like, some army tattoo, like, that is a macho thing to do. I don't like tattoos, but it's not the same thing as women getting them. Like, it's just...
Ms. Grossberg interjected to her male colleagues that they should still respect these women, even if they did not find them attractive. Ms. Grossberg added that she herself had 3 small tattoos, so she found the comments particularly offensive.
What a fucking hall monitor. Of course she has tattoos. Like, isn't this kind of making the point? We're disgusting should be shut. Okay.
To add insult to injury, Mr. McCaskill invasively asked Ms. Grossberg where her tattoos were, and Mr. Carmichael stated he thought it was illegal for Jews to have tattoos. 249. Mr. McCaskill habitually belittled female employees of Fox.
I mean, but that is a Jewish religious belief. Like, I don't get. Like, that's not. Like, looking at, like, an Orthodox Jewish website, a lot of Orthodox Chabad's website says you cannot use tattoos.
Fox News as juxtaposed to their male counterparts in the office. For example, while discussing a promotional idea for Mr. Carlson's End of Man documentary, Mr. McCaskill remarked that the mother's room, a private office designated for Fox News employees to pump breast milk, was a waste of space and should be replaced with a room of tanning beds for the guys to tan their testicles, a practice Mr. Carlson recommended to viewers to boost testosterone. 250. Mr. Wells and Mr.
So in Leviticus, it explicitly, there's a line, Leviticus 19:28, you shall not etch a tattoo on yourself, which was part of the Jewish law code. So, yeah.
Mr. McCaskill often remarked that Lexi Ciccone, a TCT booker who reported to Ms. Grossberg, should use her sex appeal to the TCT team's advantage, such as by sleeping with Elon Musk to get an interview and that she could be his next wife.
That is fucking amazing. If this actually, like, I don't know, a lot of this stuff is just...
Ciccone herself, likely feeling as if she needed to fit in an ad commentary matching her misogynist work environment, would respond that men masturbated to her. 251. Mr. McCaskill also mocked the appearance of Kaylee Grill, a production assistant, saying she looked really rough, to which Mr. Wells replied, maybe it was because a guy dumped her and if so, who cares? 252. Ms. Grossberg reminded the men that Ms. Grill had just been out sick with the flu. 253. Not surprisingly, on October 26, 2022, less than a month and a half after starting at TCT, Ms. Grossberg felt so anxious, depressed, and physically weak from the barrage of sexist, chauvinistic, and sexualized comments to which she was being subjected in the office that she called in sick at the behest of her therapist. 254. By this point,
But how much of this sounds like a Redditor writing fan fiction? Like, this sounds like a Redditor writing, like, fan fiction. Okay. She was calling in sick at the behest of her therapist. I'm going to be honest. I don't think I've ever... I think I called in sick once in my life when I... due to mental illness. I think I only did that once. And that was back before I was properly treated. And, yeah. But, it's... okay.
By this point, the toxic work dynamic had impacted her health severely, such that she could barely eat and lost nearly 10 pounds in less than 2 weeks. 56. Case 1.
Okay, that is the least believable part of the story, that she couldn't eat and lost weight. That is the least believable part of this whole thing.
Yet, while she was homesick, a junior male staffer named Tom Reed sent Ms. Grossberg an aggressive email because she had used her editorial discretion to shorten his pitch for a story because it was too cumbersome for Mr. Carlson to review. 256. Mr. Reed's entitled and sexist tone only compounded Ms. Grossberg's anxiety. even when she later reported this exchange to Mr. McCaskill and Mr. Fox and suggested that the team come up with a standard pitch template for the staff to use. Mr. McCaskill refused to adjust the process and ignored her suggestions and concerns about Mr. Reed's troubling behavior. 13. Ms. Grossberg continues to...
Okay, let's see here. Oh. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just trying to look through and find. This just looks like some gossip. That he was hearing. Let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna skip to the next section because this is really boring. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's the part about let's see what the harassment based on her Jewish faith was.
In or about October 31, 2022, Mr. McCaskill put his discriminatory animus against Ms. Grossberg based on her Jewish religion on display. Mr. McCaskill installed 3 large, inflatable Christmas decorations inside the TCT booking team seating area, a preposterous display that was
I'm sorry to interrupt this. So someone's asked me. So yes, I have bipolar. So there are 2 types of bipolar. There's type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is a mixture of full-on mania with depression and alternates between the 2 of them. Bipolar type 2 alternates between hypomania and depression, but is like depressed more of the time. Whereas with type 1, it's a lot more balanced. Okay, let's see here.
Mr. McCaskill installed 3 large, inflatable Christmas decorations inside the TCT booking team seating area, a preposterous display that was distracting and loud, as well as 1 full-sized and 1 smaller Christmas tree.
So literally, she's saying here, it's discriminate. I'm gonna have to screen cap this. It's discrimination that they put up Christmas decorations, like that they celebrated the birth of our Lord and Savior. That is in itself. This is like one of the most mask off things I've ever seen in my life. Like, just Christians celebrating Christmas is inherently I guess it is.
However, anytime Ms. Grossberg tried to turn off the distracting and loud inflatable decorations, Mr. McCaskill would contemptuously demand that the Christmas decoration be turned back on and call her a Scrooge or Grinch.
It's so base. That's amazing. Like, it was probably a joke. That is, like, incredible. Like, that this is serious. Like, you see why I had to cover this? This is amazing. Like,
Upon information and belief, Mr. McCaskill also hung up a sign on the smaller Christmas tree which had been placed next to Ms. Grossberg's desk that read, Hanukkah Bush, 287. In or about...
Hanukkah Bush. Oh, come on. Like, this... Okay, that didn't happen. Okay, if that happened, that was a joke. Like, that was an innocent little joke. Like... I don't know. I like, that sounds funny to me. Like, not even as like an anti-Semitic thing. It just, like, I don't know. I just think that's funny. Like, I don't know. Like, if a Muslim did a joke like that to me, let's say I worked at a Islamic workplace and no one was eating because it was Ramadan, and someone gave me a lunch and it said like infidel stew or something like that, or like or kefir meal, or they like gave me a hard time about it. I don't. I just think that that was funny. Like I don't know. It just sounds like a harmless joke.
Spotlight Awards, which recognize employees for their outstanding performance and contributions. Mr. McCaskill quipped that the entirely Caucasian TCT team could never win the 61 Case 120 $10,000 prize for Inclusion Ambassador of the Year, which recognizes employees who lead by example in celebrating, engaging, and advocating on behalf of diverse community voices.
Why is McCaskill so based? Well, once again, what is inaccurate about that? What is factually inaccurate about saying they can't get a diversity award because their team is white? Also, once again, note that Jews are white when it suits them. So, the entirely Caucasian team, including her. So, keep that.
Mr. McCaskill then offensively suggested that they nominate Eldad Yaron, a booking producer for TCT, for the award solely because he was an Israeli Jew, and could use the $10,000 to buy the team pizza for a year. 280.
I don't know, like, that just sounds funny to me. Like, I I don't know. Like maybe it's just me. Like politics aside, or like I don't know. It just seems like something somebody would say at an office. Like some dudes just say, "Hey, why don't you run for? Then we can get pizza for a year." Like it's serious. Okay.
Mr. Yaron and Ms. Grossberg, who was within earshot, both grew increasingly uncomfortable with this discussion, especially given how months earlier, Mr. McCaskill ridiculed Mr. Yaron to other employees when he out of the office for taking time off to celebrate both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur because they fell on back-to-back weeks. 291. As the year came to an end, Ms.
Once again, it's like the most like harmless bans. Like no one's ever said in their office, "Oh, I wish I was Orthodox so I could take an extra day off on like Easter," or "Oh, I wish I was Jewish because then I could also get extra." Like no one's ever said that. Like, what planet are these people from?
As the year came to an
I think it says something that even like the Reddit fan fiction that she made up or that she completely exaggerated and took out of context doesn't sound that bad.
to an end, Ms. Grossberg gave each of her team members a gift to thank them for their diligent work. In turn, Mr. Yaron bought a babka, a historically Jewish sweetbread, for the office. When Mr. McCaskill learned that there was babka in the office, he began to loudly and obnoxiously demand that the TCT booking team have the bread made by the Jews. Thereafter, any time Mr. Yaron purchased his lunch from the Jewish bakery known as Bread's Bakery, Mr. McCaskill loudly proclaimed to the TCT booking team that Mr. Yaron went to the Jew bakery, and that he had gone to see his people.
Okay, but like that's not that weird a thing to say. Like, so my mother is from German Mennonite stock, so if she goes and gets a German meal, or she goes to like, I don't know, something like that, she says, "Oh, I've gone to see my people." Like, I worked with an Indian guy, and he'd say that all the time when he was going to get, like that is their definition of like of racism. Um,
This incredibly demeaning and offensive conduct was made even worse by the fact that Mr. McCaskill endorsed others in the office to repeat these offensive remarks. 62. Case 1.
I'd like to say for the record that I love Jewish bakeries. I wish there was a decent one near where I lived. Jewish bakeries are the best. I'm not gonna lie.
On January 12, 2023, after receiving yet another hostile and demeaning text message from Mr. McCaskill over the group text chain, Ms. Grossberg arrived at the office distraught and found herself alone with her superior, Mr. Fox, 294. Ms. Grossberg took this opportunity to complain to Mr. Fox about the gender-based harassment she had been enduring at TCT and tell him that she felt constantly gaslit and belittled by Mr. McCaskill. Ms. Grossberg made...
Okay, so assuming this is all true, like, what do you expect? You wanted to work for the most conservative, edgy, un-PC show on mainstream television, and you're complaining that the people there are edgy, non-mainstream. Like, what did you think?
Ms. Grossberg also told Mr. Fox that she felt constantly attacked by Mr. McCaskill and that his criticism of her in the group text was hindering her ability to do her job. Ms. Grossberg further explained that Mr. McCaskill's tone and offensive language used in the group text was unacceptable, including him saying, "Am I being a dick or do I have a point here?" 296. Mr. Fox responded to Ms. Grossberg both dismissively and shockingly, "We're all under stress. This is Tucker's tone and just the pace of the show." 297. In other words, Mr. Fox was admitting that the misogynistic fish rots from the head down, that is, Mr. McCaskill behaved towards her in a deplorably discriminatory manner because he was inspired, permitted, and enabled to do so by Mr. Carlson himself.
Okay, like, how many leaps of logic did we make there? So, their example of his, like, super unprofessional behavior is him saying, "Am I a dick or do I have a point here?" To which she talked to someone else who said, "It's the pace of the show, we're under stress." And so that says that, like, everything that McCaskill did, once again, doesn't this sound like Tucker was there the whole time? In that he was completely involved with everything? Like, he wasn't even in this office. So, like, how could he endure... Like, it's so fucking stupid.
Grossberg was stunned by this blatantly retaliatory action. Ms. Grossberg was bewildered by how her protected complaints to Mr. Fox about Mr. McCaskill's sexist conduct seemed to only enlarge the target on her back. 301. As Ms. Grossberg rode the elevator to Fox News' HR department with Mr. Wells and Mr. McCaskill, who looked at each other and rolled their eyes, she began to feel warm and dizzy and was experiencing a racing heartbeat. 302.
It was like arousal that, from the way she was treated.
302. Monica Merkel, a Fox News HR officer,
I love how, like, all these bad fanfic, like, embellishments.
presented Ms. Grossberg with a hastily drafted memo filled with half-truths and warned her that immediate improvement is required for you to fulfill the minimum standards expected as the head of booking. 300.
A hastily drafted memo filled with half-truths. I don't know if you really want to go there. Okay, let's see here.
When Ms. Grossberg tried to defend herself and keep the focus of the discussion on the horrid way in which she was being spoken to and the sexist and hostile work environment on the show, Mr. Wells ominously warned Ms. Grossberg, "I don't think being combative about it going forward after we leave here is going to help anyone. I don't think it's going to help you do what you want to do either in this role or with your career." 305. In other, keep complaining about discrimination and your career will be destroyed. 64. Case 123 CVO 2368 JMF Document 14 filed March 307. Ms. Grossberg also revealed that the harassment she had endured at TCT made it hard to get up in the morning, and that because of the constant barrage of hostility and sexism she received from Mr. McCaskill and Mr.
Have there been like any real accusations about stuff that like they actually said to her? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen that much compared to some of the shit I've dealt with at previous jobs.
At the end of the meeting, Mr. McCaskill finally acknowledged, "We can take that recommendation on both our parts in terms of collaborating a bit better in a more clear and concise way, in a way that isn't disrespectful." Nevertheless, incredibly, Ms. McCaskill shifted the blame back onto Ms. Grossberg, saying there are missteps probably in many different directions. But I'd say the bigger, grander picture of all of this is the things that are expected in this role have not been fulfilled. 309. Nevertheless, after the meeting ended, Ms. Grossberg stayed behind to speak with Ms. McCaskill alone, and recited the countless examples of sexism and anti-Semitism recounted supra to her. 310. Ms. McCaskill claimed that she would investigate and get back to...
I'm just hugging my cat girl. And she's staring at me with bug eyes. Oh, okay, there you go, girl. Okay. You want to run away, you can run away.
The very next day, Ms. Grossberg found herself under an even bigger microscope, as Mr. McCaskill, Mr. Wells, and Mr. Fox suddenly began questioning virtually every decision she made. This caused Ms. Grossberg to become even more anxious and physically ill. 312. Ms. Grossberg also heard nothing back from Ms. McCaskill or anyone else from the HR department despite her very serious allegations of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. 313. On January 17, 2023, feeling utterly hopeless, Ms. Grossberg contacted the crisis hotline. 314. The next day, January 18, 2023, Ms. Grossberg had to call out sick, and was advised by her therapist to immediately request leave under the FMLA to reasonably accommodate and treat her diagnosis of depression and anxiety, which was being exacerbated by the harassment she continued to experience at work. 315. On January 18, 2023, Ms. Grossberg requested FMLA leave through February 1, 2023, at which point her therapist would re-evaluate her. 316. On January 26, 2023, Ms. Grossberg requested an extension of her FMLA leave until February 8, 2023, and attached a letter from her therapist stating, Ms. Grossberg's anxiety symptoms continue to be clinically significant, and it is my opinion that they will worsen if she returns prematurely. Ms. Grossberg does not feel emotionally safe to return to her workplace. In order to transition back, she will need guidance and assurance from human resources that the work environment will remain harassment-free. 317. On February 6, 2023, Ms. Grossberg requested an additional extension of her FMLA leave until February 15, 2023, and provided another letter from her therapist stating, Ms. Grossberg's anxiety symptoms have not abated sufficiently for me to recommend her return to 66. Case 123 CVO 2368 JMF Document 14 filed March 28, 23 page 67 of 102 work particularly since the clinical anxiety and depression were caused by events that occur.
Okay, we're going to take a slight tangent here. Okay, there's a cute picture of Rain. There's a cute picture of her sitting on her hammock staring at me. There we go. There's some pictures of Rain. Yeah, that's you. She's currently just staring at me. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit of a palate cleanser as we make our way through this nonsense.
Since the clinical anxiety and depression were caused by events that occurred in the workplace. 318. On February 9, 2022, Ms. Grossberg spoke to Ms. McCaskill about her eventual transition back to work from FMLA leave, and to get an update about the company's purported investigation into her claims of harassment and discrimination that she had made back on January 12, 2022, 319. Ms. Grossberg began the conversation by saying that it was her goal to come back to work, but that her therapist suggested that we have this conversation to assess if I'm ready and the safety and the health of the environment. Ms. Grossberg asked Ms. Maciel what steps have been taken and what's being done about the hostile work environment she endured at TCT 320. Ms. Maciel explained that she had reached out to a few members of the team to kind of get their thoughts about not only religious but gender discrimination. Specifically, Ms. Maciel mentioned she spoke to a few members on the team, but that there was no corroboration on those feelings similar to what you were feeling. Ms. Maciel further noted that Mr. Fox had confirmed that Ms. Grossberg complained to him about Mr. McCaskill, but that he believed it was just a feeling about a coworker. 321. Ms. Grossberg questioned the veracity of the so-called investigation, and maintained that there was an upsetting culture on TCT that needed to be investigated and remedied. 322. Ms. Grossberg then proceeded to provide Ms. Maciel with countless additional examples of the discrimination she faced while working for Ms. Bartiromo, as recounted supra, to which Ms. Maciel dismissively replied, "It is certainly not appropriate, not something that any employee has to endure, but now you've been moved to the Tucker show." Ms. Grossberg, 67.
Okay, let's see here.
For example, later that same day, Mr. Fox showed Mr. McCaskill a video of a muscular woman doing CrossFit, whom Mr. McCaskill called a eunuch. In fact, it was U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, 328.
Why is McCaskill such a chat?
In the ensuing days, Mr. McCaskill and Mr. Fox excluded Ms. Grossberg from relevant and necessary communications and proceeded to undermine her authority as head of booking by giving junior staffers on her team assignments without her knowledge. For example, Mr. McCaskill and Mr. Fox directed junior staffers to book certain guests in a text message chain that purposely excluded Ms. Grossberg and was meant to keep her in the dark and undoubtedly gaslight her. 329. Thereafter, on March 1, 2023, Ms. Grossberg once again raised concerns about the continued harassment to Ms. Maciel, but her complaint fell on deaf ears.
Okay, here's another cute picture of Rain. Okay, there's a cute picture of Rain. She likes it whenever I get groceries because then she can hide in the boxes, and she thinks that no one can see her. So that's there's that. So I'm also gonna to share one of the best schizo memes ever. I just was looking through my Twitter feed and this came up. It's completely unrelated, but it's funny, so it's a good meme. Okay, the Hyperborean African Hyperwar. 60,000 BCE, worldwide, primarily Africa. Result: Pyrrhic Hyperborean victory. Africa continent reduced to hunter-gatherer tribes. Hyperborean Empire fractioned into Proto-Indo-European nation-states. Hyperborean Empire, various Neanderthal neo-tribes. King Arthur, Proto-Romulus, Grug the Strong. Alberta, George Floyd. Evo Championship. 2 billion Iberian foot soldiers, 500 million druids, 60 million druid chariots, mammoth riders, 6 million Wakandans. Virtually all Egyptian and Wakandan units. Only 111 18 pyramid serves. Oh, that's some good schizo posting. I'm sorry.
Any other representative from Human Resources acknowledged Ms. Grossberg's complaint, while Mr. McCaskill took the opportunity to respond mockingly and gaslight Ms. Grossberg, 330. On March 8, 2023, Ms. Grossberg continued to express frustration with her superiors, in particular.
Okay, I'm sorry. One more cute rain picture. There we go. There's a cute rain picture. That's her. I think that was at Christmas when I. No, that wasn't at Christmas. That was just. She was just hanging out in her carrier. And that's her staring at me with her bug eyes. Everyone likes cats.
69, Case 120. Because an unidentified woman from Chicago.
Wait, what is this? 1 second, let's go back.
(331) On March 9, 2023, during an editorial meeting with Mr. Wells, Mr. Fox, and lead producer Casey Herzog, Mr. Wells exclaimed that he would need to get a new phone number. 69, Case 123. Because an unidentified woman from Chicago was sending him photos of her breast implants and proceeded to uninvitedly show the group the photos. 332. Then, on March 13, 2023, at a
What a Chad. Like, just random women him are sending him boob photos. Like, what is this? Like, what the fuck is this?
Mr. Fox, you expect her to be dumb because of how she looks. She's not fun enough and Tucker likes fun. Mr. Yaron, I guess she's kind of icy, but she explained a complex topic. Mr. Fox, she's boring. But good for her I guess for making people care about South Dakota. 333. On March 14, 2023, the conversation on the newsroom floor mockingly turned towards Jewish people when Mr. Nared loudly posited the following question to the TCT group: do Jews having middle names? Mr. Cass, who is Jewish.
So, did he say, like, did he not spell check this? Or did, like, so he got the quote. So we're supposed to believe this guy said, do Jews having middle names? Do Jews having middle names? Wouldn't it be, do Jews have middle names? Like, did he even spell check this? What the fuck?
Why would you ask that? Of course we do. Producer Elizabeth Fanning tried to temper the conversation. Remember everyone, we love our Jewish people here. Mr. Carmichael then exclaimed, to much laughter from all. Eduardo, Naret, you are not behaving over there. 334. Throughout this time, Mr. Wells and Mr. Fox continued to unfairly scrutinize Ms. Gross.
Wow, like, okay, look at this. Look at this title.
Fox News,
This is
in
like
line
a
with
a light novel title.
with its modus operandi when it comes to punishing brave women who speak out against sexism and misogyny at the network, not only files a baseless retaliatory preemptive lawsuit against Ms. Grossberg meant only to chill and silence her and deter other courageous women from following in her footsteps, but places her on forced administrative leave. 335. On March 20, 2023, plaintiff and her counsel met with defendant's counsel and a corporate representative for the.
Okay, let's see here. There we go. Okay, the Equal Pay Act. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just gonna go through the. Let's see if there's like citations for any of the shit she claimed. Like, let's see if any of. Okay. There better be some sources here, because she made a lot of claims here. It's new, of course. It's yeah. This was filed in New York because all shitty lawsuits are filed in New York. Okay. Um, there's no citations for any of this. No citations. No evidence presented. Maybe that's submitted separately, but that is Ms. Grossberg's testimony. Um, Signed by uh, per- Perisis Philippatos and Tenvir Ramen, aka Trawman, aka Trashman, in New York. So that was that was the document. I think that we learned a lot from that. I think everybody who liked Tucker is now gonna hate him, and that this in no way makes her look like a hysterical bitch who's writing fan fiction, and like I don't know. Complaints proceed discovery. Fox holds most of the documentation at the moment. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. Okay. Thank you for that, Red Remover. I did not actually know that. That is okay. That's good. We'll see. But I don't know how like a lot of this stuff could even be confirmed, unless she has like photos of it, or like video recordings. And once again, Tucker like is barely mentioned in this. It's like entirely McCaskill, the Chad, that she has an issue with. So I'm gonna to close this off. I'm gonna say probably about 40% of this is just entirely made up. About 40 per. Okay, I'll put it this way. A third of this is made up. A third of this happened, but she completely and utterly like twisted the truth or left out key context. And a third of this is probably accurate, but it's just normal corporate bullshit. Like it's normal shit that they do at every company. So were the producers in Tucker Carlson tonight probably assholes? Yeah, I mean they probably were. Was it probably an unpleasant macho environment? Um, and was shocked when it was the edgiest show on cable news. Makes me feel like this whole thing is just a setup. That she knowingly got on there so that she could get all this like data on people and then be a hall monitor and just tattle. That's what I think. Um, I think we learned a lot today. Uh, Andrew Tate is referenced in this, which frankly just blows my mind. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I know it went on for a long time and I hadn't intended it to, but this was just too good to not cover. So God bless everybody. Christ be with you, and I'll talk to you guys again real soon.